All right, diving in today to the world of Indian edtech and specifically what's been happening after that whole Byju's thing. Got some really great sources for this deep dive. We're looking at articles from the Financial Express, Business Standard, and there's a super insightful piece from Tice, too. So big question. Is the Indian edtech scene just a graveyard of, like, failed dreams? Or is something new coming out of the ashes?
Well, with the whole Byju situation, it was a huge thing, obviously, but maybe not a total surprise if you think about it. I mean, remember how the pandemic basically threw gasoline on the edtech fire? Everyone was stuck at home, right? Online learning was booming. Companies like Byju's, they were riding that wave like, I don't know, a surfer on a tsunami.
Yeah, their ads were everywhere. You literally couldn't escape them.
Exactly, but that kind of crazy growth, right? All fueled by like mountains of investor cash. It wasn't really built on solid ground. A lot of edtech companies, not just Byju's, they were so focused on just grabbing market share, like at any cost. And they racked up huge debts doing it. And then things started to settle down post-pandemic, right? That easy money dried up.
That's
And the cracks, well, they started to show.
Yeah, and that brings us to that stat from the Business Standard article. Over 2,000 edtech startups gone.
In the last 5 years.
That's right, over 2,000 startups shut down. It's not just a number. It kind of tells a story, a story of an industry that totally overheated, fueled by cheap money and expectations that, well, weren't very realistic.
Makes you wonder what went wrong, right?
It does. But here's the thing. Amidst all that wreckage, something kind of fascinating is happening.
No.
Yeah, the Financial Express article, they paint a surprisingly optimistic picture. Like, despite the Byju's fallout and the general, economic downturn, several edtech companies are showing strong signs of recovery. We're talking serious revenue growth here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, for instance, PhysicsWallah. Their revenue, get this, it skyrocketed by 160% last year. They hit nearly 2,000 crore rupees.
Okay, that's impressive.
Right, and they're not alone. Adda247, not far behind, 88% jump in revenue for them.
Okay, so those are some serious numbers. Are those just like isolated cases, though? What about the bigger picture?
Well, it's not just a couple of outliers. Upgrad, they're a major player in higher ed. And upskilling, they're seeing a steady 30% growth year on year. And get this, even Unacademy, they saw a little dip in revenue, yeah, but they shrunk their losses, like, dramatically.
Okay, so what's the secret? Are these companies just, like, lucky?
Well, maybe there's some luck involved, but I think it's more than that. The Tice article, it kind of digs into the why behind this resurgence. And it seems like the industry is going through a fundamental shift. Like, remember we said Phoenix rising from the ashes?
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
So are you saying, like, the Wild West days of ed tech are over?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's time to grow up, Become responsible.
Interesting. But does that mean, like, the actual learning experience is better now? Or is it still all about just staring at a screen for hours?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The Tice article, they highlight this trend toward hybrid learning models. So it's not just online anymore. Companies are partnering with schools and offline institutions. They're offering a blend of online and in-person learning.
So kind of the best of both worlds.
Exactly. You get the flexibility and reach of online, but with the structure and human interaction of a classroom.
I bet you're seeing some pretty creative approaches to this, huh?
Absolutely. And it's not just about the learning experience itself either. It's about, the financial stability of these companies. Take Lead School, for example. They're on track to be EBITDA positive for the whole year.
EBITDA positive?
Yeah. So for those not super into finance lingo, it means they're making more money than they're spending, which is like a huge deal in this market, where burn cash was kind of the norm. Great Learning, they're another big player. They're already maintaining positive EBITDA.
Wow, okay, so that's a really good sign. Shows the sector's maturing. But what does this, like, shift towards sustainable growth and hybrid learning, what's it mean for investor confidence?
Well, that's a great question, and we'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. Can't wait to find out. We'll be back in a flash, so don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack that cliffhanger about investor confidence. Like, are the money folks buying into this new, more sustainable era of Indian edtech?
Well, I think after the whole Byju's thing, a lot of investors were understandably like, whoa, hold on a sec. Kind of like that friend who throws these wild parties, right?
Yeah.
Racks up a crazy credit card bill and then suddenly wants to borrow money from you.
Oh, yeah. Been there. Not falling for that again.
Exactly. But here's the thing. The data actually suggests that investor confidence is coming back.
Really?
Yeah, both the Financial Express and Tice articles mention it. The numbers from Traxon show that funding in the sector. It actually surged to over $650 million in 2024.
So wait, it like almost tripled from the previous year.
Yeah, pretty much. So are investors just forgetting about the whole Byju's mess?
Not quite. I think they're being a lot more cautious this time around. It's not just throwing money at any shiny new edtech startup anymore. They're looking for companies with solid business models, strong leadership, and a clear path to profitability. They want to see evidence of that sustainable growth we were talking about.
Makes sense. What about our revenue superstar, PhysicsWallah? Where do they fit in?
Right, so they're reportedly in the middle of a pre-IPO funding round at a valuation of $3.7 billion.
Whoa, $3.7 billion.
Yeah, it's a major vote of confidence.
So pre-IPO, that basically means they're getting ready to go public, right?
Yep, exactly. Sell shares of the company on the stock market.
And that valuation, it's basically saying, we believe this company has the potential to be huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe investors are starting to believe in Indian edtech again. But what about the students? Are they actually getting a better education at all this? Is it all hype? Or is there, actual substance behind these new companies?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's not just about fancy tech or features. It's about whether these companies are actually improving learning outcomes.
Right.
And that's where this new breed of edtech companies comes in. They're not just focused on replicating the classroom online. They're using technology to create truly innovative learning experiences.
Okay, like what?
Well, think AI-powered personalized learning or gamified education to make it more engaging. Platforms that connect students with mentors and peers from all over the world.
So it's not just about, digitizing textbooks.
Nope. It's about reimagining the whole learning process.
Okay, that's actually pretty exciting.
It is. And what's even more encouraging is that a lot of these companies are mission-driven. They're not just chasing profits. They genuinely want to make quality education accessible to everyone, regardless of background or location.
So it's not just about disrupting the system for the sake of disrupting it. It's about using technology to solve real problems. That's great and all. But let's be real. There are always challenges. What are some of the hurdles these companies need to overcome?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the digital divide. India's got a massive population, but internet access still isn't universal. A lot of students, especially in rural areas, they lack reliable internet, which limits their ability to learn online.
Right.
And it's not just about getting them online either. It's about making sure the content is relevant and engaging, and that they have the support they need to actually succeed.
Yeah, it's like building a high-speed train, but forgetting to lay down the tracks.
Exactly.
What good is all this amazing ed tech if people can't even access it?
Right. And then there's also the digital literacy gap. Even if students have internet, they might not have the skills to actually use online learning platforms effectively.
So it's not enough to just provide the technology.
Nope. We need to invest in digital literacy programs too.
Okay, so it's about finding creative solutions to bridge that gap, making sure no one gets left behind. But even if we solve the digital divide, there's still the issue of government regulation, right? The Tice article touched on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The edtech sector in India, it's still pretty new. And the regulations haven't quite caught up yet. It's kind of a double-edged sword, actually.
How so?
Well, on the one hand, it allows for innovation and experimentation. Companies can try new things without being bogged down by red tape. But on the other hand, it can create uncertainty and make it harder for businesses to operate.
Yeah, it's like driving a car without a speed limit.
That's a good analogy.
Exciting at first, but then it can get kind of chaotic.
And dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the ideal scenario here? What role should the government play in all this?
Well, ideally, they would create a regulatory environment that encourages innovation, but also protects students and ensures quality.
So clear guidelines, fair competition.
Exactly.
And a commitment to bridging that digital divide.
Right.
Sounds like a delicate balancing act.
It is.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a sec and bring this back to our listener. They've heard all this about Indian edtech, but how does it actually relate to them?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our Indian edtech deep dive. Things are looking up, it seems.
Yeah.
New generation of companies on the rise. But I'm sensing a but coming.
You know me too well. Yeah, there is a but. All this optimism, the recovery, the innovation, it all hinges on something pretty crucial. Trust.
Trust. Like trust that these companies won't go belly up, like, cough, Byju's cough.
Well, that's a big part of it, yeah. Consumers need to feel confident that these platforms are providing quality education, that their data is safe, that these companies are, here to stay.
Right, because once bitten, twice shy, as they say,
Yeah.
especially with something as important as education.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just consumer trust, too. We got to think about investor trust. Are they going to keep pouring money into the sector, even if there are, bumps in the road?
Because there will be bumps, right?
Oh, absolutely. This isn't a smooth highway to success. It's more like, I don't know, an off-road adventure.
Okay, I like that metaphor.
Yeah, with unexpected obstacles, maybe a few flat tires along the way.
So we got consumer trust, investor trust. And you mentioned something else, too, didn't you? Something about government trust.
Ah, yes. Maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. The government, they play a massive role in shaping the education landscape. They need to create a regulatory environment that works, one that encourages innovation, yeah, but also protects students and makes sure the quality is there.
Okay, so the government's like what? The park ranger in our off-road and adventure?
Exactly. They got to set the rules of the road, make sure everyone's playing fair, and that the environment is protected.
So it's like a three-way trust triangle then.
Yeah, pretty much. You need all three sides working together, consumers, investors, and the government, all in sync, to create a truly, thriving edtech ecosystem.
That's what makes this whole Indian edtech story so fascinating. It's not just about business or technology, right? It's about societal change.
Absolutely.
About creating opportunities.
Yeah, and building a better future.
And that brings us back to our listener, the one who's been on this journey with us.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway? What surprised you? What made you go, I need to think more about that?
What resonated with you the most? Was it the resilience of the sector, the potential of hybrid learning, or maybe the challenges of that digital divide?
Because here's the thing. This isn't just about India.
Right.
The forces at play here, they're global. The questions we're grappling with, the role of technology in education, the need for sustainable growth, the importance of trust, these are universal.
It's a global conversation. And India is at the forefront, experimenting, innovating, forging a path forward.
So as you go about your day, whether you're in a boardroom, a classroom, or just scrolling through your phone, keep this in mind. The Indian EdTech story. It's a reminder that we're all part of this grand experiment.
Yeah, and while there will definitely be more twists and turns, more bumps in that off-road adventure, the potential is there, to truly transform the way we learn and, in turn, transform the world.
So stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay informed. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one writing the next chapter of this story.
Maybe so.
And on that note, we're signing off for today.